Yeah, hello, welcome to a new video. This will be somewhat different to the ones before, as I'll be doing a quick recap of my first three games here at the European Club Cup played in Slovenia. Um, a very strong tournament, of course, and yeah, the first three rounds have been great in terms of results. With my play, I'm not completely satisfied, strangely enough, because um, there were quite a lot of errors, but well, the opponents didn't play perfect as well. So result-wise, it was very nice. So let's start with the first game. Um, yeah, my team is seeded number 40 or 39. I'm not quite sure. Among 60 teams. So first round meant that we got some very strong opposition, and this was in fact the team from Ukraine. I'm not sure, and there's maybe more than one team, but this is the strongest one from Ukraine. They got six players rated above 2,600, or one player is 2,590 or something, but all very good players. I play on board two in my team, so my opponent is rated 2,666, and his name is Yuri Krivorushko, if I pronounce this correctly, at least halfway. In my preparation, I had a look at his games, and he's got a pretty steady opening repertoire, and so I could prepare something, but in fact, after a couple of moves, I forgot my preparation and was on my own. So let's just start with the game. I started with on knight f3, and he goes for c5, c4, knight c6. He did this a couple of times already in his in his games. Knight c3, and now he slightly surprised me with g6 here. In his games, he mostly went for e5 here, which usually continues g3, g6, bishop g2, bishop g7. And I did some preparation for this line, but now he went for g6. Actually, this line doesn't have such a great reputation, mostly because of the move e3 here, which after bishop g7, d4 is just a bit better for white, because the knight on c6 is just a bad piece which will be attacked with d5. But there's a slight issue with this line. Instead of bishop g7, black also might play knight f6 here, which after d4, cd, ed, d5, c takes d5, knight d5 leads to a position which can arise also from an e4 opening, the Caro-Kann. This is believed to be better for white, but it's a bit yeah, it's a bit a strange position. I can show you the main line here. It's a little trick here. Because of f7, black cannot save his knight, but he can play knight to d5, bishop takes, e6, takes c6, bc6, and then, for instance, let's say castles, queen d5, queen somewhere, I'm not sure, queen c3 maybe. And this is a weird position, which is pretty unbalanced. Black's got the bishop pair. Okay, the b7 or c8 bishop, which will go to b7 soon, is not the greatest piece, but if black manages to play c65, he's really okay. But white also has got ideas to play against c6, or maybe play bishop f4 to e5. This idea actually means that black will often play even f7, f6 here. It's a bit of an unclear position, and I didn't really want to go into this. So when he went for g6, I just decided to play g3 anyway, hoping that we would transpose to the line I had prepared. Bishop g7 now, bishop g2, and now e5. He just transposed to the variation he had played in the other move order. Okay, castles, knight g7, a3, castles, rook b1, a5 is all pretty normal. a5, of course, to prevent white from playing b4. Now knight e1. It's important to play this immediately and not waste any time on d6. Let's say d3, d6, knight e1 maybe, bishop e6, knight c2, and now black manages to play d5 and is pretty okay. With playing knight e1 immediately, after d6, knight c2, bishop e6, knight e3, I managed to prevent him from playing d6, d5 and make sure that I get a knight on d5. Now he goes for f5, a knight d5, and f4, the pretty aggressive way to play this. Now d3 is logical, and now I play g5. I actually had this position in the preparation, and here I wanted to play e3, e3 here, which is a solid move to prevent black from further expanding on the king side, as it puts some pressure on f4. Let's say he wants to play g4, I just take on f4. This is a solid move. It also prevents him from playing knight d4 at some point, which could be an idea. But okay, I forgot my preparation and went for b4, which also seems to be okay. He now took here, ab, and now took on b4. Yeah, now I think I didn't play it good here. I'm sorry. I should just take on b4 now, and this position should be well, slightly better for white maybe, because b7 is a weak pawn, and I have a nice control of the long diagonal here. The bishop on g2 is really strong, but I went for knight b5, which is an idea I saw in the preparation, but in some slightly different position. Yeah, I thought it was interesting, but well, it doesn't really give white much. Rook c8, of course, he needs to cover c7. And now I went for bishop d2, which is or was the idea behind all this. Knight b5. And now he played rook f7, which is I think a solid move to cover the 7th rank and to get some flexibility. Maybe bishop f8 could be an idea to cover d6 at some point. I think it's a good multifunctional move. And now I should, I think, still play e3 here, just waiting a bit what he's doing, because, well, he doesn't have such a great move that he can play here, because, well, the natural move, queen d7, is, of course, just answered with knight b6, so I'm not sure what he should play here. Maybe just some more preparation, but I think e3 is the move that helps me, and he doesn't have something great to do. But I pretty quickly took on b4. Now he takes, rook takes, knight takes, cd5. Well, bishop d5 was an alternative, but I didn't want to give up this bishop as a protection piece for the king. It's playable, but well, I didn't want to go for this. cd. Now bishop g4. Yeah, this is an interesting position where he's got a bad bishop on g7, but I have this knight on b5, which is also, well, it's a little bit of a strange piece. It looks active and attacks d6, but it doesn't do much more than that. And I wasn't sure how to continue in this position. I went for really a controversial move here, but I'm not sure. The computer actually suggests just to play h3 here, the bishop h5 or f5. It's not much of a difference. And then it wants to play g4, bishop g6, queen b3, and thinks that white is slightly better. Yeah, I thought of this briefly, but well, I still couldn't. I couldn't bring myself to play h3 and g4. It looked a bit weakening, but yeah, maybe it is in fact somewhat better for white. Ideas like, I don't know, bishop f3 and then maybe return the knight from b5 to c3 and then e4 or something. Yeah, it looks nice. If you in analysis it looks nice, but in the game I couldn't really bring myself to do this. I had the idea to play d4, and well, I did play d4. The idea is either to get the square d4 for the knight and then go to e6 if possible. For instance, if he plays really okay, it's bad to play this, but let's just show it. Then I'll have the idea um to get the knight to e6, which is of course very nice if I manage this. He couldn't tolerate a knight here, and most likely would need to take this off, and then I will get a very strong bishop in g2. And this was the basic idea. I thought that the alternative to, well, that if he lets me take on d4 and takes with the pawn, I would get a nice passed pawn, the d6 to come. So for instance, he went queen e7, and let's say de. Okay, took with the bishop, but let's just say this kind of position should be very nice for white with a great bishop on g2. Okay, played queen e7, and now I took, which well fits with the plan. Took with the bishop now, and well, now I cannot play. Whoops, I played this one. Cannot play this immediately because he just takes and e2 is hanging, so I need to attend this first. Yeah, he now exchanged on f3. I think this is fine. He could also play bishop h3, for instance, after which I just drop this back. Yeah, he took here, which is, I think it's okay. And now I played rook c5. And well, after the game, we just talked briefly about it. He thought this was a mistake, and he should play something else. Unfortunately, I could not really understand what move he suggested. We talked briefly in English, but his accent was so strong that I didn't get what he wanted to play. Yeah, the problem with this move is my response, which pretty much kills the game in terms of any chances for black to win it. Um, I played knight d4 here, which is I think pretty strong. The problem here is of course the d5 is hanging. I can show it briefly what happens if he takes it, and he's got the problem he cannot allow to get the knight to allow me to get the knight to e6, of course. Um, let's have a look at the line. He just took on g3 first, which okay, it makes sense. Took with the h pawn, and now he decided to take this knight off. So let's just have a look at what happens if he takes on d5. It's a nice line. Knight f5, of course, was the idea, the discovery. Okay, needs to play queen e6 to cover the rook. Knight h6 check. So looks a bit strange, this desperado knight. King g7 and now queen b3. Yeah, he missed that. He told me that after the game. This much I could understand. King h6 and now rook b5. This is the idea to pin the rook on the queen. A strange configuration of pieces. He cannot unpin this. In fact, black has a draw here. He can take here. Funny move. The idea is to get queen h3 in. So rook d5, queen h3, fg, queen takes, king h1, rook f4. Yeah, it looks a bit like I'm getting mated, but I've got this. And now the cool move, rook d4. Rook takes d4, queen f7, and it's a perpetual. Yeah, this would have been a nice finish. But I think actually he should do this, because what he's playing actually is a bit risky. After this, white already is a little bit better. Rook d4, and now I think he made a slight mistake. Queen f6, I think is a bit better here. He played rook c3, after which I have the, well, it's not difficult to find, but it's rather strong f4, which gets rid of the f3 weakness. He now took on f4 and offered a draw. And okay, this is a typical situation. You got a better position against a much stronger player. And well, I calculated a couple of lines, and at the end I decided to take it. Maybe I shouldn't do this because it's pretty much unlikely that White could lose the game anymore. Can have a quick look here. Okay, of course I play Queen G4, and then well, two lines. Rook G7 is one possibility, and then take here. And the computer actually suggests Queen E5 here to give up a pawn essentially, and get into an endgame like this. Of course, this I wouldn't have. Well, I wouldn't take a draw in this endgame, but well, Black has of course good chances to hold this. Yeah, this would have been nice. I was more worried about something like King H8, Rook F4, Rook G7, Queen H5. This kind of position. White is of course better. I've got the better king position. The king is much safer. And I also have ideas to use the weak square on e6. On the other hand, he's got the b pawn, which might be weak at some point, but it's also a pass pawn. Yeah, it's I think it's better for white. I wouldn't draw this against a weaker player. Or I wouldn't take a draw. Let's say it might well end in a draw, but I wouldn't accept the draw offer. Yeah, at the end I decided to take this after a couple of minutes, and okay, it's a great start if you draw against a player with 2-6-60 or something. So yeah, this was okay. At the end we lost the match with it's played on 6 boards. We lost the match 4.5 to 1.5. We made 3 draws, which was a great result. Of course, okay, this we were outrated more than 200 points at all boards, sometimes 300 points. So 3 draws was just fine. Okay, the loss at the first round, of course, meant that we oops, just a second. The loss at the first round, of course, meant that we would get some weaker team in the second round, and as it happened, we got one of the weakest teams, the team from Wales. They got one pretty good player with about 2,400 on board 1, and the 5 other players are rated about 2,000 or even below that. So they're seated, I don't know, among 60 teams, 59th or something. Okay, I got black here. Just let me switch the colors. And my opponent is called Jason Garcia. He's rated 2019, and he plays e4. Of course, I did some preparation for this game as well, and I noticed he is an e4 only player. I decided to go for the Sicilian, and in the games I had in the database, he always played the open Sicilian, and I was glad to get some not symmetrical position and try to outplay him and go for a win. But he opted for bishop b5, which is, well, very decent alternative, of course, to d4. I played d6 here, and now he took on c6. which is pretty early. It's a playable move, of course, but mostly white plays castles here or c3 moves like this. Okay, takes here, and then I think he played already a somewhat passive move with d3. I think white should play something like, let's say, castles, and if I go for e5 now, white has got c3 with the idea to get in a quick d4 and open up the position. White is better developed, and he's got chances in case of an opening of the position to play against the weakened pawns here on c6 and d6 maybe. Let's just say that's like this, d4, cd, cd, and well, black is not really able to fight here in the center because of the bad development. I think I would have played something else if he went for castles. Well, d3 was a bit of a relief because now e5 is a nice move which blocks the center, and if he wants to open it up now, it would cost him a move. Now he castles and bishop e7 here. Yeah, the reason for this is I want to have the option of playing f5 immediately to open it up for the two bishops. Now he went for h3. It's a really passive move. I'm not sure. I think you still should try something like c3 here. Okay, f5. That's, I think, logical. It took now. Bishop takes. And now knight h2, which, well, doesn't look too great. He wants to play f4 to get some play in the center, and yeah, but the disadvantage, of course, is it opens the position even more for the bishops. Well, e takes f, bishop takes, and now I just castled. I think objectively this move would have been better, but I was a bit tempted by a little trap here. This the reason for castling. I played knight c3 now, but the trap I thought of was if he takes now. Okay, it's rather simple, but still I was tempted to to get in this. King h1, and now knight e4 wins immediately. Knight g3 mate threaten, knight f2 threaten, the rook's hanging. Well, it's just white just resigns here. Okay, knight c3, queen d7, I think normal move. Want to get in the rook on e8, or maybe rook f7, rook a to f8. And also, well, if I'm lucky, I might be able to be sacrificed on h3 at some point. And I played queen e2, which surprised me because the queen doesn't really belong on the e file. Okay, rook to e8. And now I think it really gets problematic. He plays g4 now, with just this just weakens the king, and he doesn't really get anything in return for this. I think it should just play some normal move, after which black is slightly better with the bishops and some advantage in the center. I have ideas like d5, c4, and so on, but at least he wouldn't have a weakened king. Now bishop g6, bishop e6 was also fine. Queen g2, and now d5. You always need to be a little bit careful about advancing the pawns here, because it also weakens some squares like e5 and maybe c5, but the problem is just very concrete. He plays rook a1 now, and now I've got I think pretty strong move c4, which opens up the diagonal for the bishop very nicely. And this was also the reason why I dropped the bishop to g6, because of this c4 idea. Black is now really clearly better. The idea is if he takes now on c4, it's a big mistake, he didn't do this. I have bishop c5, check, king h1, the exchange, and now knight e4, and black is completely winning. I have knight f2 as a threat. The bishop is hanging on f4. He just doesn't have a move. This is it's just over. Um, so but d3 is also just hanging. I'm threatening to take this. So he covered this with knight g3, queen g3, and now I have d4, knight d1, knight d5, which is very nice. Getting the knight into play. He needs to drop back, and now bishop d6, attacking the queen. Okay, can flip this in, and now queen f3 needs to cover d3. Just take queen c7. h2 is hanging. He doesn't have a good move to protect this, just this one. Yeah, at this point I spent some time. I played the moves before rather quickly. I don't know. I only had use 30 or 40 minutes here. Here I took some time because I thought that there should be a mate or a win of a piece or something, but I didn't find anything, and then just played the simple line. The alternative I had, which I saw but at the end decided against, was bishop g3, rook g2, and bishop f4, which just continues to attack here. After the bishops I exchanged, I get the knight on f4, and it's just a great attack. d3 is just hanging, and yeah, the computer already gives, I don't know, +4 or 5 or something. It's just a direct win. But okay, I wasn't so completely sure, and at the end I played rook f8, which just trades down to this position, with black being a pawn up and still the bishop pair and white's ugly pieces. It's just a winning, yeah, semi endgame. I think we can go over the rest of the moves pretty quickly. I also decided to just exchange queens here, and this is a pretty easy win with black centralizing. You also need to know that he didn't have any time. He had just seconds for the last couple of moves. So at the end position, I just attack b3 and it cannot be protected. So yeah, it was I think a pretty clean win. That's still necessary to play decent moves against a player with 2000 rating. You see this in this tournament. It's really interesting. There are a couple of teams who have players with very bad ratings, like 2000, 1900, were very bad in comparison to the other teams which have lots of titled players and so on. But these players sometimes do score pretty heavily. There was one match which was really amazing. It was played close to our match, where a team from Norway played a team from Turkey, and the Turkish players, they had three younger players on the last three boards with 1900, 1800, and something like this, and they scored 3 wins. Those younger players were this 2002 and 2300 players, so you never know how well they play. Okay, we won this match nicely with 4.5 to 1.5. Unfortunately, our first board lost versus their 2400 player, and we conceded also one draw. So it was clear the third round we would get some better team, and it turned out that we we got a team from Hungary or Hungary. I don't know what's in English. And they were a pretty strong team with um, one grandmaster on board one and a couple of other players rated above 2400. My opponent was international master Gabor Kovac. He's rated 2490 something, and pretty much grandmaster strength, but he didn't get the title yet. Yeah, I did some preparation, of course, and noticed that he's got a pretty narrow opening repertoire. He basically plays the same lines all the time for years, but it also means that he's got some experience in them. A very solid player. Okay, let's go through the first moves. Uh, yeah, he basically always plays these four moves. If against d4, c4, anything, he just wants to get a Queen's Gambit decline type of setup. And this is also why I decided to make exactly this move order to get the mainline position of the Catalan opening. He now took on c4, which was expected. I had, I don't know, about 15 or 20 games of him in this line, so it's got quite some experience here. But in all games, he got Queen c2, and I played Queen a4, which is usually just a transposition. 1 point of Queen a4 is on Queen c2. Black has the pretty new option to play b5, which is, well, maybe an unclear line. Then a4, b4, and well, it's complicated. Queen a4 is meant to prevent this, but now he surprised me. He didn't go for a6, which is by far the main move. Queen c4, b5, queen c2, and he already, now bishop b7. He already had this 10 times or so, and I focused my whole preparation on this line, of course. It's a very safe line where white now can choose between a couple of moves. Basically all moves that make sense here of the bishop. Bishop d2, bishop f4, bishop g5. And yeah, one issue with black here is it is very difficult to play for a win here with black. And okay, he's outrating me by about 100 points and didn't have a great tournament so far. He played, I think, a draw in the first round against a rather low-rated player and then lost in the second. Okay, well, it's a very strong opponent. I forgot, some 2,600 plus player, and I think he maybe wanted to get more of a fighting game. So he opted for something else. He played bishop d7. It's a rare move. To be honest, I think it's just a bad choice. If he wants to play for a win, he shouldn't go for this setup at all, because let's just go through a couple of moves here. If you look at the position we are getting now, white is just better here, no doubt about it. I just got advantage in the center, and yeah, and it's not, I think, a position you can play for a win with black. Really, okay, you always can try to, but it's risky. White is better. Huh? Yeah, I played rook e1 here. This is also pretty much uncharted territory. There are only 1 or 2 games in the database. Rook e1. This was meant to avoid e4, knight c5. Actually, I stopped calculating here, but this is playable for white. I could just play this here, and knight e5. I didn't bother to calculate this. I just thought rook e1 is a move that rook e1 here is a move I think it's a useful move anyway. You know, when rook e8, e4, b6 to get a place on b7 for the bishop. It's all very natural here. Bishop f4, bishop b7, rook 81, just centralizing. Now queen c8. Yeah, I thought he wants to maybe prepare c5 here. And I want to play, of course, if he plays c5, I want to play d5. So I played queen c2 here to, yeah, let me show you what happens if I don't play this. Let's say h4, which is also a normal and decent move here. c5, d5, and now he's got c4, which in itself it's maybe not dramatic, but I didn't want to give him this with the tempo, so I decided to drop the queen back here. And now I think he played a bad move, just simple as that. I'm not sure what to recommend here for black. It's just really not a very enterprising position. You cannot do much. Um, yeah, I think c5. If you play c5, let's say c5, d5. This is better for white because of the d pawn. And also one interesting idea to note here is the bishop on going to h3, which puts lots of pressure here on an e6 and this position of the queen. I'm not sure. Maybe he should just, I don't know, knight f8 or something. Bishop f8. Well, he went for b5, and yeah, no, I think I didn't play the best move here. I like this move. I played d5. Yeah, just I like this move because it looked very active with the ideas of knight d4, maybe knight c6 at some point, and also I wanted to get these ideas in after e takes d5, e takes d5, like knight g5, bishop h3. But I can just play rook b1 here, a6, a4 with a positional advantage. This is much cleaner. I should play this. White is just better here. He has really huge problems to defend the queen side, and white has a pretty much easy game here. I should play this. d5 is worse. But okay, it leads to an interesting position, but it's not the best move. He took now, and now bishop d6. This is actually a move I yeah, underestimated in a couple of lines. I don't think it's the best move though, but I underestimated this simple idea. What he should do actually, I think, is knight to f6, and let's say queen knight g5. I was attracted to this idea because white also has got the idea of playing bishop h3 now. That's just a fantasy line. Let's say this one, h6, bishop h3, queen here, and knight f7. Just to show what kind of ideas there are for white. King takes, bishop check, king back, and this one can be pretty quickly. Of course, this is a very bad play, but just to show what ideas there are. He should play now here bishop d6, and now let's say takes bishop e3 with the idea of bishop d4 maybe. Now h6 and something like this. It's still, I think, a bit more comfortable for white, but black is pretty solid here. It's very helpful that he's got rid of the knight, which is always annoying to go from d4 to c6 and so on. Yeah, this should be okay. Or an alternative here on this move here would be knight b6, after which I have a nice move a4, very strong. Let's say he takes this. I got c4 with the idea c5, it's very strong. Or knight a4, also c4, it's very nice because the knight is sidelined on a4. Yeah, this d5 move was interesting, but well, if he defends correctly, I think he's okay. He played well bishop d6 now. I exchanged here, and now knight d4. White is still somewhat better, but the other lines were just clearer. This one, queen b3, a6, and a4. Yeah. And now we produce a couple of errors in a row. What he should do now is in this position he should exchange on e1. which doesn't make the most logical impression, but it's the correct move. Takes here, but it's all because of a trick, and I think we both missed this. Knight f6. Now d5 is hanging, so I take on b5. A takes b. Knight takes. Bishop takes. This is all forced. And now rook d1. This was my calculation, and I think also his calculation. And I thought, okay, I'll win the d6 pawn here. And okay, it's a pawn up, and you can try to win this. Not sure if white will manage, but it's just an extra pawn and no problems. But black has got the funny move knight e3 here. I think we just both missed that. And if I take now, it's perpetual check. Really strange one, but it's a perpetual. Sorry. And he just missed that, missed this, and I also. So he played knight f6 immediately here. Now I took on b5, which is also wrong. I should exchange on e8 first. And now he retakes. He also did this immediately. If he takes on e1 now, we're back in the line I showed before. The difference is now I can take, which I should have done before. Rook e8 and queen b5, and it's just an extra pawn here. He could actually play bishop d5 now. Maybe he should do this, but it's of course not a decision you really like to make. This kind of line where just white has an extra pawn in a technical position. It's a clear advantage. Not sure if it is completely winning or something, but yeah, maybe you should try to defend this, but it's a thankless task, of course. He went back to c7. I just went c4 here, and this is an extra pawn with pretty much clear advantage, because also the b7 bishop is quite a bad piece at the moment. And I always have this ideas of knight c6, and this is just an annoying piece on c6. And then I have ideas of c5. I just need to be careful that he doesn't manage to get some blockade, like knight on c5, bishop on d7, and then it's difficult to make progress. But it's pretty quick here. Bishop c8. Yeah, I played h3 to cover the g4 square. Knight d7, bishop d7, and knight c6. Yeah, I think I just plan to play c5 here, or maybe just also queen a5 to get the queens off. The d6 pawn is also a weakness. He made a mistake now, queen c8. But okay, it's easy to make bad moves in such a position. Just queen b4. He cannot take on h3 because d6 is hanging, and d6 is also not really a pawn you can cover easily. So he went back queen c7, and now rook a1. This is a winning position now. Rook a7 is just deadly now, and he took now on c6. Not an easy decision, of course, because I get this pawn here, and now king f8, and now the time trouble mistakes come. Yeah, I didn't have so much time left, and I also, to admit, I was really nervous. So I played rook a5 here, which is just useless move. Just queen b7 is just winning. I'm not sure what I actually missed there, because it's really easy. If he takes now, this is just winning, and he doesn't really have something else, because I always have rook a7, like rook c8, rook a7, and resigns basically. This would have been much faster, of course. I'm not sure what I didn't like about queen b7. It's just I didn't have so much time left, but I'm not sure. I played rook a5. The idea was rook b5 and then rook b7, which also, it's not bad. White's position is so winning that I can play a couple of second-rate moves and still keep the winning position. King h2. These are all time trouble moves. Now he's got this one. Yeah, but this is a position, of course, he's close to being in Zugzwang. Bishop f3, it's not the best. Bishop d5 is better. I just wanted to keep the position somehow in time trouble. Bishop d5 now is also better than queen b5. Now he actually can open up the position a bit and threaten with checks, maybe with the queen. Takes here and king g2 to prevent the queen exchange. And now we got the 40 moves in. This is of course a zero move. It doesn't help much. I realized immediately and I dropped back. Yeah, yeah. White has some quicker wins here, but I think it is still enough. Black cannot do much because it's so passive, and he just needs to protect all the all the threats here. Queen e7, queen f5, king g7, bishop e4 to get the queen to h7 maybe. Queen f4. Yeah, and this is finally winning. Bishop h7, king h8. And now it's funny. I just missed the mate in 3 here. I played rook g5, and white can just play this one, and it's just a mate. But after rook g5, okay, it's completely winning. Bishop g8 threatened, queen f8 still threatened, and so on. He just resigned here, so it was also winning quickly. It's also it's the first time that I play with this time control, and it's something you really need to get used to. The time control is 90 minutes for 40 moves and 30 seconds increment. So if you add it all up for 40 moves, you got 10 minutes less than usual if you are used to 2 hours for 40 moves. But the difference to other time controls I played before is that after the 40 moves, you here get 30 minutes for the rest of the game and the 30-second increment. So in this game, for instance, after 40 moves, I had spent all my time. I was basically down on a couple of seconds. So I get 30 minutes and this 30-second increment. So, for instance, in this game, after move 45 or 46 or so, I was already down to 5 or 6 minutes for the rest of the game. Okay, you get the increment, but it's something you need to get used to, yeah. Yeah, okay. These were the first 3 games. Pretty successful start, I think. Yeah, still I made a couple of errors here in this game. I'm not really satisfied that I didn't finish this off cleaner, but okay, it was so bad that it was hard to spoil it completely. Um, yeah. Yeah, well, I hope it was interesting to look through the games, and yeah, please leave any questions or comments here on YouTube, and also um, think about subscribing to the channel if you didn't do so already. It's completely free, and this way you get informed of new videos getting uploaded automatically. Well, thanks, and see you and hear you in the next video.